Sound Italian.
Yes.
You're not.
Apparently, according to Ancestry, I am 18%.
Is that right?
I had no idea, yeah.
Well, you had your thing done, like 23andMe thing?
No, so lady comes to
I had
our
that
house.
done for my dog.
What's that?
They find the DNA, and then
Right.
I mean,
nowadays people freak out, like, don't do it because they're trying to investigate and learn more things about it. No, this girl comes over to the house, and I'm half Armenian, half Assyrian. She says, you ought to do an ancestry to see if you have any other, nationalities or roots.
Wait, you say Assyrian?
Assyrian, like Aramaic Assyrian.
Well, because the Assyrian Empire is long over.
It is.
Right. So
But there's 7 of us left.
But the Assyrians became Iraqis. The Assyrians became Syrians. Hence the name.
Yeah.
Coincidence.
Yeah. It's a rich history. Anyways,
I love that history and that part of the world. I mean, that's first history. The first thing that's not prehistory really is that part of the world, is Mesopotamia.
And that's where a lot of, these guys, a lot of things came from them. Capitalism, a bunch of, calendar, everything.
Came from antiquity. But, civilization started along 4 rivers. The Tigris Euphrates, the Nile, the Yellow River, and the Indus. The Ganges.
But were you always into history, like even in high school? Was it a later on thing?
No,
for
I'm
you,
into
or?
rivers.
But you like history.
I'm only into how rivers affect history.
Okay.
But rivers do affect history. I mean, obviously, you can almost never name a city that doesn't have a river that's in the middle of it, right? Even LA has a river. There's no water in it.
Yeah. But we have a river.
But we have a river.
And it's been a lot of movies.
Yes, it has. Chinatown.
Yes.
That famous scene where he takes the knife and, it looked like nosy fellows.
Yes.
That was pretty. You're a movie fan?
So, Bill, this is like Disneyland here. From the outside, you look at it, you're thinking it's a small little place, and then you come in, you're like, holy moly.
Well, good. I'm glad. I know you're a rich guy, so if it impresses you, I must have been doing something right.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is fantastic.
This, to me, is the favorite part of the whole setup, though, because it's not attached to where I live. I mean, I wouldn't, it's too filthy for that. But for guests, I just had a birthday party.
I heard.
And it was
couldn't
here.
believe your age,
I would always, hope you mean that in the right direction.
No, I'm telling you, I was talking to Chris, and Chris told me the whole story about how 1989, the way you guys met. That story's a classic story with you and Chris.
Really remind me, I forgot.
Well, he said he came, you know the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then he told me, I said, so he had a birthday Saturday, because there are balloons in the other room, and I met your engineer. I said, how old is he? He told me the age. I couldn't believe it. I thought you were much younger than that.
Thanks, man. I ordered all to clean liquor. No, I mean, it's funny. I had dinner. This will impress you. I had dinner with dinner. It was 4:30. Okay, but dinner's dinner with Warren Buffett.
Today.
No.
Thinking you're coming here from Warren Buffett.
No, definitely not today. No, it was back in October. I was doing what I do on the weekends, which is tell jokes to strangers. So I was coming to Omaha, and I get this call, a couple of weeks before there, Warren, and he just could not have been nicer. He was like, I will go anywhere in Omaha to meet you. Yeah, I was thrilled that he was such a big fan. Oh, great. We met at this place. I'm sure he goes. They look like, of course, he's Warren Buffett in Omaha. It's he's walking around like, the Beatles in 1963, I'm sure. So, he could not have been greater. And but he's 93 or something. And he does not betray that at all, as far as the way he speaks, the way he engages, the way, people this is the problem we're having right now with Trump and Biden. Trump, of course, is even more demented and full of dementia, but they're around the same. But Biden wears it horribly. He shuffles and he looks fucking old as dirt.
You
And
said
Trump,
is more dementia than Biden?
yes.
You didn't just say that. You said it
Trump?
very
Oh, you like Trump
comfortably.
more than Biden?
No.
I mean, you can.
In the area of dementia, there's a lot of things you could say. Did you really?
Did you see what Trump said this weekend?
Yeah, the whole thing about Nancy Pelosi
Yeah,
and Nikki Haley. And,
right.
And then he, somehow, some way, everybody from the media comes down and says, no, that wasn't Nikki Haley who shut down and controlled security. It was Nancy, Pelosi. But to say dementia between the two, I mean, look, Biden, you listen to 100 speeches, you can't even, he can't even go through his speeches.
Yeah, this whole subject, I feel like, is kind of the red herring of the election. It never engages me that much because, like, I know who Biden is, and I know who Trump is. We've both seen them a lot, and yeah, they're both not at their life's peak for them, and it's sort of baked in. And I don't think, does it really make me think that it's affecting how Biden makes decisions and runs the country? No, it's not. He doesn't look good running for president. He doesn't look good, publicly as president. That's not the important part of being president. The important part of being president is the decisions you make in small rooms where there aren't people around to look at you stutter, and where you're not as nervous, and where you don't have to make a speech. You can just listen to advisors and use your wisdom. That's the key part of being president.
You think he does that?
Biden, yes, absolutely.
You really believe he does that?
You really believe like it's like a mechanical. Yes, people really believe it. Like half the country thinks he's done a pretty good job, being fair, giving like what you're dealt with as president and then where we are. Really, what is so like hard to believe? Excuse me, about I think Biden did a good job because what, the economy went in the toilet because we're like losing a lot of our own troops overseas. No, things are fucking good.
I think things are good.
Oh, Jesus.
So, Bill, that's the part.
What are you worth?
What am I worth?
Yeah.
I was worth plenty before Biden. Biden didn't do the money for
what are
me.
you worth now? Ballpark.
$1 million.
A few $100 million.
Yeah.
But you're bitching things aren't good.
I'm not bitching. I'm not.
You said things aren't good.
Well, no, I'm not sitting here for me. My life's going to be good no matter who the president is. I'm not sitting here worried about my life. I don't think you're going to, I think you were fine under Trump. I think you're going to be fine under Bush. I think you're going to be fine under Obama. I think you're going to be fine no matter who. So there's going to be a percentage of people, no matter who is president, they're going to be fine.
I take your point.
Yeah.
The rich always, yes.
I think those who bring value to the markets and they have a niche, they're always going to do well. That's evergreen, right? But at the same time, when you...
So what was your niche that brought you that?
The money?
Well, you said when you have a niche, and I know exactly what you mean. That's the genius of the businessmen, like figuring out what the crowd's going to buy, sometimes even before they know they want it, like the iPhone.
Yeah.
You don't even know you want it, but once I show it to you, you're going to want it. Because it's all about... So what is it that you created that people wanted?
So I get out of the military. When I get out of the military, I start working at Morgan Stanley Dean.
Our military.
U.S. Army 101st Airborne. Yes, not the Iranian military. I was a spy.
You're not working for the Assyrians,
no,
are you?
But I will tell you, one time I was
when that empire strikes with those big
well, I mean, if we had an
catapults.
empire, our empire fell a long time ago, 2,000 plus years ago.
But Akkadian Empire also back then, and the Hittites. Let's never forget about the Hittites.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm in Alabama one time when I'm in the Army. I go to this place, Waffle House, and I have a big nose, Middle Eastern nose. We're gifted. You and I were gifted,
no bigger
right?
than mine. Yeah.
Well, we're gifted.
I think it's fine. It fits your face perfectly.
I love it. I'm okay with it at this point. But I'm at Alabama. I'm bald, and Army uniform. We go to Waffle House, and the lady looks at me and says, why are you wearing our uniform? I said, because I'm in your military. She says, but where are you from? I've never seen somebody look like you.
Really?
I said, I'm from Iran. I said, you've never met an Iranian before? She said, I've never met an Iranian before. She says, what are you doing in our military? I said, can I trust you? Of course you can trust me. I said, I'm a spy. Everything I'm learning to take back to Iran. Why do you think I would join the Army? No, but there was a lot of people in the Army that were worried the fact that an Iranian is in the U.S. military. No, I get out of the Army. I want to be a bodybuilder. My dream was I was going to follow Arnold's footsteps, go on Hollywood, marry Kennedy, and then, run for office and stuff like that. And then
on Tuesday.
Yeah, and then on Tuesday, I meet a girl named Jean-Pierre who works at Morgan Stanley. I go to Morgan Stanley, Dean with her. I start working there. I get my Series 7, 66, 31.
So
all the licenses, and then I
so
stay
you
in
were like a
financial
Wall
industry.
Street superstar?
No,
One
from
of those-
there I left to insurance, World Financial and Transamerican. In October of '99, started my own insurance company. I grew to
An insurance company.
an insurance company.
Why did you think the dough was there? I mean, obviously, it's a good business because people like to be assured.
I think it's
Could have called it Assyrian Assurance.
Would you have trusted? Could I have sold you a policy?
Yeah, but that other lady probably no. But sometimes that, I mean, first of all, it's very easy. And of course, the woke love to posture, so they would be like appalled. And there was something appalling about her asking you that question. There's also something just fairly, I wouldn't say innocent, but she's not trying to be a dick.
Of course she's not.
Right.
Yeah.
She literally is, it just doesn't compute because she's only been surrounded by Americans. Like, yeah, why would we? Like, it is a little counterintuitive, put it that way, to someone maybe in her place in life and where she grew up, how she grew up, what she saw. There is something counterintuitive.
Can
I see your papers, please?
Yeah. Can I see your papers, please?
Can I see your birth certificate?
Yeah. I mean, listen. We were just having a conversation earlier during lunch.
I did one of the Iranians love me.
No. You know what the conversation
When
was
I walked
about?
down the street in Westwood,
Yeah.
mobbed.
You were?
No, I'm not mobbed, but I feel like these are the people who come up to me and be like, please keep saying what you say about Islam, because that's why I'm here. I wanted to leave that stuff. Having to wear the
How much heat you
cover
get
your
for
face.
that? How much heat you get for?
That issue has been very. I mean, there was a lot of heat. Of course, that's a very hot issue, but I mean, as an issue.
Yeah.
Now with the Israeli war going on right now, that brought it back, but it's still not. People still don't really zone in on the Islam of it all in that conflict, the way they did after 9/11. So after 9/11, and I had a book about it that was out, and I got fired for a comment about 9/11. That's when it was like, for that first decade of Bush going into it, that's when that issue was ascendant. Now, it just hasn't come up a lot, but it could now with the Israeli thing.
So when you're out there, people are not stopping you and pissed off at you or your positions you've taken and things you say.
It's amazing that even though I realize that millions do not like me or the things I say, first of all, I don't care because millions do. So fuck the ones who don't. There. But the people who don't like you never come up to you. I know they're out there. But I never really even see a dirty look. I just think it's like, I think out here in Hollywood and Washington and New York, the chattering classes, I think people yak about this kind of little bullshit much more than they do in the middle of the country.
Because, for me, okay, somebody maybe on a different political side maybe says a position, I can see them being like, okay, I understand why you would believe that. But for someone like you, when you had the one show with, who was it, Sam Harris and Ben, who was sitting to your right, and that's the main clip that, a lot of them, but that's not right, Ben, you're not right. 75%, 25%, but what are you? Are you the guy that knows everything about Islamic? Sam Harris says, yeah, this is actually what I study, and that whole exchange, right? We've all seen that. But then Salman Rushdie, what happens with that? And I know you've been friends with him and
Very
Satanic Verses and the book and what Khomeini did, fatwa and all that stuff. And then
nobody liked him, Salman Rushdie.
In what way?
Oh, just such a great guy. Just a true intellectual who you can go to the ball game with. It's just funny.
Personality.
Yes,
fun.
and open.
Yeah.
And, he's just, he's the best version of what you think. So the last guy
How much are you talking? How much have you been recently talking about Israel, Hamas? Are you talking about that a lot on the show and the podcast or no?
Have you ever seen my show?
I watch not this one, but I watch your show with HBO a lot. And the clips
you couldn't have watched it recently because that's all we've been talking
about.
Well, then
that's why I'm asking you the question at the beginning. If
Yeah.
I'm watching this stuff that I'm asking at the beginning. You don't get a lot of attention out there when you go out there. Muslims don't come up to you, and people don't come up to you upset with your position that you're taking.
Well, I just said to you, Muslims, like at least the Iranian people, I think this is, it's happened with other people who are Muslim but not Iranian, have said to me, but I think it's mostly the women with the, like I came to this country to get away from that. So it's good that someone who's considered a liberal is being clear-eyed about Islam. It's not like other religions, like in the sense that it's more fundamentalist. It's much more where Christianity was 500 years ago, where the Pope was very important and people followed what he said. And, just if you really believe something, it's frightening when that thing that you believe is death is okay. As one of the Israeli generals said about Hamas, you can't scare them because they want to die or they think that's good. Martyrdom is a very hard thing to fight.
Are you ever surprised at the number of...
You don't agree with that?
Well, no, listen, we had Bassem Youssef on last week, and the amount of heat that brings. I had two Muslims on the podcast and two Christians debating the views, and it was, again, the level of heat and messaging. It almost seems like...
That sounds to me like it must have been a lot of cross-yelling. Like yelling what you...
I would say 30% of it was. But I would say 70% of it was actually very interesting and revealing, because as the debate's going back and forth...
I can't get through the yelling, though.
No, I understand that.
My old show, Politically Incorrect, was 4 people, and occasionally that would happen, but not often. But I've been in those kind of situations where they're just, they're just, you can't hear what people are saying because it's just a contest of who can, not stop talking. If I stop talking, the debates that the candidates have, that's all it is. It's like people aren't listening to the ideas. It's just like, if I talk, and especially when there's 8 of them, it's like, I have to show I'm strong by not stopping talking first, because if I stop talking first, this guy will be...
Do you like the format? Do you like our current format, the way we have it with debates?
Oh, they're ridiculous. I mean, they're not debates. They give a, you've seen them. It's just, at the beginning especially, it's very much like, reality TV, where there's a bigger field at the beginning and you kind of weed out the true losers. But at the beginning, to get attention, it's a lot of, coming up with the zinger or some sort of gotcha thing. Joe Biden was for busing or against it or whatever it was back then, and why. It's just stupid shit, performative. And then, the people make their choices, and I don't think they really make them on the ideas or what the candidate is saying, because I don't think they think government can really accomplish what it says it's going to do anyway. So they're using that kind of discussion of the issues as just a barometer to see, does the guy look like he can lie to us, which he's going to do, but also do the right thing? Can he thread that needle like Obama did and all the really good politicians, Reagan and Clinton? Can he generally keep the shit to shoe level and make good decisions? And I don't like everything, but, Jesus, these two guys. But back to the original, no, Biden's not done a bad job. Why do you think he has? What's so awful?
So when Trump was becoming, 2016, when he was going to be president, everybody said World War III is going to get started. Do you trust him with the nuclear button? What if he starts this? What if he starts that? Everybody's like, oh my God, end of the world, war is coming. Everybody was worried about it. This guy's going to be a dictator. That's all mainstream media ever talked about. Then he's president, 2.5 years. Nothing. COVID then happens, of course, things change. It was a surprise to everybody. 0 wars, 0 issues, ISIS disappears, temperature for war is down, economy's doing well, everybody's happy. COVID happens, rather than choosing to, put the onus and the responsibility on China, what do? We put it on Trump. Trump's the enemy. Then America gets more and more and more divided. When 9/11 happened, we didn't say it's Bush's fault. We said 9/11, except for Michael Moore. When 9/11 happened, we didn't say it's Bush's fault. 9/11 happened, we said the enemy's out, America united. So I think we had an opportunity to be united during COVID. I think we missed the mark by picking on that guy. And then it was, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, I'm supposed to hate you. And then there was division. Then Biden gets elected, and everyone's like, this guy's going to be the president of peace. Really? Yeah, okay, cool, let's see. He's going to be the one that's going to bring peace. Shambles with Afghanistan. Then you got Ukraine and Russia. Then you got Israel and Hamas.
Well, okay, I get it. You're on the red team. I don't have a team like
It's not
this.
about the red team.
It really is, because it's like, it's so easy to pick apart Afghanistan. I feel like that's such a bullshit one. Yeah, did they stick the landing? No, they didn't. They did not stick the landing on Afghanistan. I'm not 1,000,000% sure that it would have gone differently. However they did it, whoever did it. But no, probably somebody could have done it in a more efficient way. What I know is he was the one who had the guts to do it, which needed to be done. Nobody else would rip off the Band-Aid. But just in general, these sort of like...
Trump was going to do it in May, and he was going to do it in a different way. So let me ask a question a different way with you.
Okay, but this rosy picture of Trump that you paint, again, I don't know why it has to be so red team, blue team. I'll give you that the worst things that could have happened under Trump did not. You're right. He did not nuke a hurricane as he once proposed or thought about. That alone should be scary enough that he considered it. There are good people around him. I'm glad there's good people around him who will convince him that you can't nuke a hurricane. But that is the kind of stable genius you think was a good president or you want back there? That doesn't keep you up at night? So, did he do that? No. Doesn't mean he wouldn't in the future. He's insane in a lot of ways, truly insane. And yes, the economy, not a hard thing to do if you do that kind of Republican, tax slashing of the richest. It does put a lot of money in society. Of course, they get most of it back. But Biden's the one who had the harder job, which was making sure the economy didn't crash after the pandemic, which I thought it would. I said, how can you spend $6 trillion, more than we spent on World War II, in just a couple of years, and soft landing? I mean, I could give you the stats, but if Trump was president, you don't think he would be bragging about this economy? You don't think he would be bragging about those numbers?
It's interesting.
The stock market, the unemployment level, inflation going down.
Isn't
that all true?
I think.
Well, you're such a politician. You can't just answer the question.
No, I think your voice became so big the last 3 years, and I think you've gotten so many things on that you have a massive Republican and conservative and libertarian listeners.
I
massive.
know. Because, you're right.
Why do you think, though? Why do you think that is?
Because I call out the left on their bullshit.
Which bullshit?
The left?
No, I know, but what part of the bullshit? I agree.
Oh.
So, the whole thing you said by the next 20 years we're all going to be gay, that one thing they did that went right, that was phenomenal, right? You gave out stats. It was data-driven, 0.07% traditionals, all this stuff.
That was a joke at the beginning of it.
But
of course, I understand what you're talking about. It was about the trendiness that there isn't. Why you're asking me why they like me? I'll tell you why. Because take an issue like that. There is a sensible answer there that is not what either side is saying, which is that trans is, of course, a real thing. Some people are just born and they feel not like the body they have, put it that way. And that's a real thing. And they should be allowed to enjoy a great life with no judgment and support and sometimes actual surgery, if that's your choice. I'm a libertarian. Do what you want with your body, as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else. And there's an element now that is also trendy. Both things are true. But of course, you know, if you say that, you don't have a team. And I don't want either one of those fucking teams. That's why
but by the way, so libertarian.
But that's the truth. It's somewhat trendy.
Yeah.
Kids are just doing it sometimes because the grossest thing to be would be anything hetero or cis.
I think it's weird. I think it's very weird. So that's one. So you brought that up. And that got a lot of parents, left, right, middle, doesn't matter where you are, who have kids, are like, look, I just want my kids to be good. I'm not trying to celebrate and force my kids and say, thank God I got a gay kid. I'm so happy. If the kid is gay, he's gay. Not this celebrating the fact that he is gay. Let me help you become even more gay than you are. It's a little weird.
I mean, I've seen gay people hung from cranes in Iran.
Yeah, I lived there 10 years.
I'm saying.
I know. The biggest comedian, they killed him. They cut his dangle and put it in his mouth.
Is that right?
Yeah, in Germany at a hotel. But so let me go back to...
They cut his dick off
and put it in his mouth.
That's such a mob thing to do.
That isn't. You know who did that? The same people a lot of these guys support with Hamas and the Iran-funded, militias that's being created. They did that to that comedian. There's a lot of vicious things that happened during that. But I want to stay on this topic with you. I'm curious. Because I think you were one of the most necessary voices the last 3 years. And I said this in a video earlier.
Well,
we talk about it on the podcast all the time. I put you in the camp of you, Rogan. It's like 10 names that I put up. Super necessary because you're not supposed to have the positions that you have. Then you said, you sat with Seth MacFarlane, phenomenal conversation, the one that you had. I watched that one. Then you had Jimmy Kimmel on. I love the fact that he came on the podcast. I applaud him that he came on, and he actually sounded reasonable when you guys were talking. And the COVID vaccine position you took, and you said you took one for the camp, you took one for the team, right?
Took one for the team.
Right, so you took one, so you didn't want to take it for the team.
I mean, that's being a little more charitable than I deserve. I did take one for the team, but I also did it for myself, because if I hadn't have done it, I just could not have lived my life. They wouldn't have let me within 20 feet of the building that I work.
You think that's okay?
No, I don't.
Yeah, but that's the position.
No, I don't. I resent it to this day. But I also, again, believe in some level of compromise. And that was mine.
You ever read the book Power versus Force?
No.
Okay, in this book, Power versus Force, they talk about how there's the lowest level of, consciousness, apathy, guilt, all these things, anger, desire, all this stuff. That's a lower, and then the level you come up is what? Courage. You have the courage to have the conversation, and we have a dispute and disagreement, and we hash it out, right?
Right.
Well, we got the courage to talk about it. We got the courage to have Kid Rock here. You have the courage to have, you've had everybody here. Stephen A. Smith here.
Hitler.
Yeah, you haven't had him yet, but you've had the courage to have a lot of people here, right? That's courage. Then it's acceptance that we're different.
Right.
Then willingness to talk.
Right.
And the ability to reason. And then it goes to love and a few other levels this book talks about.
Yeah.
I think
I see.
If we put levels of consciousness by political party, I think libertarian is probably in the middle. It's kind of like, look, man, do what you want to do. I accept the differences. I'm willing to have it out. But I think the left falls below 200 level of consciousness because it's a lot of force. And we know what's right for you, and you don't. There is no reason on the left.
Oh, sweetheart, you are preaching to the converted here. I'm always bitching about this. I do not.
You're supporting Biden, though.
Of course, because we only get two choices. I mean, what is so hard to understand about bad and worse?
They forced America to take the vaccine bill. 70% Americans took the vaccine and they didn't want to take it. A lot of them didn't want to take it.
Wait a second. When did the vaccine come about? Under Biden? No, under Trump.
No, it didn't. It came 2 days after election was over with. 2 days after election was over with, Pfizer announced it was not under Trump.
Oh.
They intentionally kept the vaccine
You're right.
after the election, so they gave the victory to
That's right. But Trump was not Trump was like, I created the vaccine.
I don't disagree with you. I agree with you. He takes it as a victory. I'm on the same page with you.
Okay,
but there's a difference, though. Yeah, this is the one difference, Bill.
But
May I say this? I say this? And then push back. Here's the difference. You know what the difference is? How many times have you heard Trump get on stage and brag about warp speed? We saved 100 million people's lives,
can
right?
I just ask you a simple yes or no question?
Yeah.
But not exactly yes or no, but who are you voting for?
I'm voting for whoever allows me to make decisions more and not somebody that decides what's good for me or not.
Bro, we're not in a debate here.
No, no,
Oh,
the left.
I asked you a
forced
yes
the
or no.
vaccine.
Wait a second.
The state of
We-
California and the industry you're in force you to take the vaccine.
So you don't know who you're voting for?
I'm voting for whoever allows me to have more freedom with the choices I make.
And you don't know that yet?
It's definitely not going to be Biden.
Well, then it would be Trump, wouldn't it?
If it's between the two choices,
What? But look at you.
are you kidding me? It's not even a close call,
But
by
the
the
fact
way.
that you just can't own it is very weird, man. You know, this like, who are you voting for? Well, the Constitution says it's 2 words: Trump, Biden. I'm voting for Biden. I'm owning that. Do I think he's perfect?
But I don't,
no.
But I don't think it's
I think
like
it's
that.
not even.
I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like
Well,
that.
just say you're for Trump.
If a person
I don't
watches
dislike you for your. I don't
but
dislike.
Bill, if somebody watches my podcast, they're gonna know who I'm voting for.
Well,
If somebody watches a podcast, they're
but
gonna
how
sit there.
odd that you can't just say it. Then.
Because to me, I'm voting based on values. I'm not voting based
Okay,
on.
but we know what the values are of Biden and Trump and their
You're
policies
right.
are. We know everything
the
about
left
them.
is about force. The right is about choice. I don't want to be forced
Again.
to have to do something I don't want to do.
I get that. You seem to think that that is the sunum bonum of all political issues. It is a very important one to me. There are other ones.
Such as what?
Uh,
What's above force versus freedom?
Crazy person in the White House.
According to who?
Again, well, it's my opinion.
That's
it's my
right.
vote. It's all,
Okay,
just like it
but
is
set
yours.
that aside. Set
But
that
it's
aside.
hardly
Let's
the
go
only
2028 candidacy. And it's not going to be Trump or Biden. Forget about the name. And we don't even see a faceless candidate. Put a faceless candidate, Bill. So we don't have a name, right? That's faceless. What values are important to you? Force or freedom? We're not talking 24, we're going 28.
I mean, it's all good to be a reductionist, but I'm sorry. I don't find it intellectually honest to be, among the things I don't find it, to think you can reduce the entire election and our way of life to 2 words.
No,
it's just too much more complicated than that.
But if
I don't want to be forced, you're
Okay.
right, to do anything
Sure.
that I shouldn't do, but I understand why they have to force me to like not shoot you or force
That's
me
law and
to
order.
pay or force me to pay taxes or force me to do a few things.
That's law and order.
And the things like the vaccine are where we start to disagree. To me it's even more fine than that because there are pathogens that could potentially cause us to really need to make everyone take it. I was just reading that they are, because of global warming, the permafrost, which has not been thought out for, eons, is going to melt. And there are organisms there, to go back so far, that the humans have no contact with them. So 0 resistance. So this would be like the Satan bug if it got out, which is very possible that it could, because there's not enough to worry about. So I thought I'd throw that in the hopper. But no, really, I mean,
you're funny.
but that's a real.
You're
But that's a real thing.
But you're using the 0.1% and the next fear porn they're selling us like, oh my God, this next thing has 100% possibility of killing everybody. And, let's fear about the next thing that this happens and X and all this other stuff.
No, I always say it's a case-by-case basis. When it happens, that's why I feel like I have credibility, or should have, with the people on the other side of this debate.
What are you drinking over there? What?
I'm drinking tequila. Would you like some?
I would mind some.
Yeah, please.
Let me put this over here.
Ice? Right
yeah,
there?
if you do, just make it whatever way you're...
Oh, all right. What were we talking about? Something very important.
We're talking about how funny you are. And how necessary of a voice you
What was
are.
I just? Thank you. But what was I just?
You were talking about how much you love Trump, and I was trying to tell you you're delusional.
No,
And,
I mean, but
you-
have you never been in politics? Because you honestly, don't take this the wrong way, but you do strike me as a politician. The way you the fact that this conversation went on as long as it did, and I still didn't know who you were voting for, and then couldn't get you to say it. I mean, this is like therapy time, man. Don't you think?
You know, if you have to realize, Bill, the difference between my life and what I've seen and maybe what others have seen, what maybe gives me slightly a different, unique perspective.
Oh, you're going to play the Assyrian card?
No, not at all. No. I'll tell you. If you're interested, I'll tell you a little bit about upbringing, and then you can dissect it as much
the
as you want.
Assyrians had it rough. I know.
Zero. I'm not even going to go Assyrian. No, my mother's
Killers
side.
and Flower Assyrian.
Do you know my mother's side? What their number one book was that they swore by?
What?
It's Communist Manifesto. My mother, they're all communists.
Really?
My mother's side.
Communists?
Russian. They're Armenian, Russian. They love communism.
I thought they were from Iran.
But their escape Today Party. Are you familiar with the Today Party in Iran in the 70s?
No.
The Today Party were the communists of Iran.
No,
It was called the Today Party.
and I hear they were very up to date.
They were very up to date. They were communists. And my dad's side, they were imperialists. Okay?
Well, they were communists back in the day.
Today. How much of this have you had? Because you're already having too much fun already.
That was the first sip,
Yeah.
and boy, was it good.
No, but the point is, there's certain fears that life has caused for me and paranoia that maybe somebody else
you were 10
is
when you
not.
left?
I was 10 years old when I left.
So what did you see when you were a
What
kid?
did I see? I lived in Tehran. We got bombed 167 times in a single day. We escaped.
Bombed by who?
By Iraq, Saddam Hussein.
Oh, this
I'm there
was
from
during the
78
this was
to
during
89.
of the 80s.
Yeah,
during the
78
war.
to 89. So I was born.
Well, let's catch our listeners up. From 1980 to 1988, Iraq and Iran fought a war against each other.
I lived in the capital, 8 years.
Right, which is should be amazing for folks like who are younger and just maybe saw the Iraq War and saw, okay, the Iraq War was all about, it was a Shiite country mostly. But Saddam Hussein was a Sunni, so he was ruled by a Sunni, and Iran is, of course, the major Shiite country. So Iraq and Iran should have been natural allies. They're both Shiites. And yet they fought a war against each other. And yet Saddam Hussein was able to make his Shiites fight their Shiites. Now it's basically the same country, because once we stupidly kicked Saddam out, who's going to take
You guys going to come
Iran basically has, they have all that. They have that's kind of an empire. Syria, Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Syria, they're in Iraq, of course, and so from all the way from Iran, all the way on the border of Pakistan to the Mediterranean Sea, and the Houthis in the south. That's something to be concerned about.
You think? Maybe a
Right?
little bit? Yeah.
Now, are you could you travel there? Do you travel?
No, I don't travel because I was in the army.
Because
here,
you
so-
would be persona non grata because they'd throw you in jail.
No, because I would be seen from the Shahs because I support the Shah, and I was never supportive of what Carter and them did to influence the fall of the Shah, because Iran was a beautiful place. It was a place the wealthy would go for vacation, beautiful mountains for skiing. Iran was a beautiful place back in the days,
You're the
pre-Khomeini.
perfect guy to tell this to. So, do you know what I was doing the summer after I graduated college? I'll tell you. I went to Europe with my college sweetheart.
What year is this?
This is 1978.
This is the year I'm born.
Okay. So, my college sweetheart finally got a girlfriend last year at college. We didn't want to leave each other. She was a linguistics major. She worked every summer at this Collège de Léman, Geneva, beautiful Geneva. And she got me a job working there with her, so we could be together over the summer. I fucking hated every minute of it, but there are other reasons why. But the students we were teaching, this was a wealthy school, and this was the summer school. They were from all over the world, but they were rich kids. There was some Italians, there was some Japanese, but this is 1978. A lot of it was Iranian kids going to Geneva for the summer, and Saudi. They would come with rolls of $100 bills. One day was like shopping day. They would wear clothes once and throw it away. But it's funny that the Saudi kids were from the 9th century. And the Iranian kids were from the 1950s. That's what I remember thinking. They looked like leather jackets, and they were much
20 years behind.
20, but not 2000. And the Saudi kids, the boys would, in the park, they'd hold hands. Teenage boys. One would like be sitting down and the other would put his head in his lap. They did not see that as, we would say, no, that's perfectly fine, but we would say that's a gay. A gay.
That wasn't the case then.
They just, there was an innocence to them. I would say that.
Yeah.
But that was really interesting to teach these kids from these countries. Oh, and what happened was the revolution in Iran happened that summer. Like something happened when all the Iranian kids went screaming and yelling to the phones. It was like 4 banks of phones and I think that's when.
Do you remember what month it was?
Well, it would have to have been like.
Summer?
Yes, summer 78.
Wow, that's the peak.
I think it must have been something, the Shah, that's around the time that the Shah fell.
The Shah fell January of 79.
Okay, yeah, right.
But so the peak is like October in September, which was absolutely insane what was going on in Iran.
I remember he went to Panama, and he also had like cancer.
He did have cancer. He died a few years later.
He was trying to, imagine trying to like keep yourself exiled above from being assassinated and also fighting cancer at the same time.
He had it since 1973, but nobody knew. He kept it to himself. 1973, and then he died.
Now, we do know that he was a brutal dictator who, abided no dissent and secret.
What do you think?
Does that name ring a bell?
Of course, yeah.
That's the secret.
I had his son on the podcast. We did a 3-hour interview 2 months ago. Crown Prince of Reza Pahlavi. We had a conversation together.
Oh, his son?
Yeah, his son. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi.
I thought it was Pahlavi was their name.
Pahlavi. But Americans say Pahlavi. We say Pahlavi.
Of course.
Of course.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
I'm
Pahlavi.
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
I used to call them Saladin, and then I realized, I heard it, Salahuddin
yeah.
was the...
No, listen, it's Qassem Soleimani, right? And say Soleimani, Americans will always pronounce it in a different way, just like we pronounce it.
Talking about the guy we took out?
That's right. And it kind of made America a little bit more safer, and the country
I was all
feared us, and that's why America's temperature was like people didn't want to mess with America.
And don't forget who took out Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your point, though?
My point is that
saying Biden is Obama. I'm sorry, Obama is Biden. Obama is not Biden. Biden is not Obama. Obama gets to.
I get it. You don't like Biden. Look. I wish it was a different.
Do you like Newsom? How do you feel about Newsom?
Had him on my show Friday.
I saw that.
And I first of all, I love him. You just like a guy or you don't. I've known him for a long time. He's done my show for a long time. Do I love everything he does as the governor of California? No, I don't. I wouldn't say I'm undertaxed. I have issues with this state. He's a guy. One reason I want him to run for president, is because he's obviously a winner. This guy could fucking do it. It's insane that we have the guy, but we can't run him because we have to tiptoe around Biden and
define a winner.
Well, he would win the election.
Oh, so
he would win the election.
So he's a talented debater, speaker, communicator, deflector.
And politician. And he's a smart guy. He's a smart, real guy with a pair of balls. Do I love everything? No, you never do with a politician. But first of all, I think if he ran for president, it would be great because it would force him to move to the center. Now you're running not just in California. This is California. It's weirdo.
Are you a results-driven guy?
No, I like to think, watch things fall apart.
Of course, you wouldn't build a show that you build and win at the levels you won, for decades if you weren't results-driven, right? You're Bill Maher.
What do you mean? Well, what's the point about results?
That's exactly where I'm going with you. So results-driven guy.
Right.
What areas has Newsom won in? You said he's a winner.
Winner of the election. He could win the election.
But based on what, though? Do you want results? Like, what has he done to California to say he's a winner?
Oh God, I don't know. It's too.
Bill, you're a smart guy.
You know what? He made it rain. Okay, dude. It wasn't raining.
Someone who said that. He said, "Great job."
It wasn't raining, and now it's raining. So he's got my vote.
Okay,
you know what?
Respect.
I don't know. I don't follow the news. That's a character
Bill,
I play on television.
Don't deflect. You're a very smart guy. You're a very smart guy.
It's a character. I actually live with my delicate wife Sue and our 8 homeschooled children. We just had twins, Sean and Hannity. Don't believe everything you see on TV.
So
David.
then what this does to me, this actually makes it easier for me to not even have to have this discussion and just move on to other things we can talk about, is you base your character on your candidate. You base your candidate based on being a good debater, deflecting, not necessarily result.
No, I don't.
If that's how you do it, then
Shut up.
Newsom is fantastic, Bill.
Stupid. You're better than this.
Really?
I hope so. I don't know. I'm just getting
when
to
I
know
asked
you,
you
but
a question,
I
I said-
told you are.
I
mean,
said-
it's a silly argument of a debater. You know, like I can't tell. I've been doing political commentary on television for 30 years. I think I can tell when a guy is just debating or whether make a calculated guess on how he's going to be actually as president. There's two different things, running and being the guy. Do I like it that Newsom is good at the running part? I do, because that means he can get elected. Do I also think that if he got elected, he would be a good president? I do. Generally moving the country in the right direction. I would like to take him back a little toward the middle, but, you know.
Based on what, though? Based on what?
Well, you know, California is just a kind of a crazy, you know, can't do the taxes, the graft really is what is the. I was asking him about that. He says they're attacking it. The red tape, the graft, the fact that they can't build a fucking homeless home for less than $900,000. They couldn't complete a fucking high-speed rail. I'm going to say on my show Friday, it's going to be controversial, but Hamas, let them come over here and build our fucking tunnels because we cannot get it done. No, I'm serious. It's a win-win. If they would like renounce and say, we will not attack Israel, we will hire you to build infrastructure. These people know how to build a tunnel.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, they've been building a tunnel on the east side of New York since 1972.
You can hear your guys laughing, listening to you.
So let me ask you about your personal life. What kind of men do you like?
Kind of men do I like?
What, you're married?
I am.
How long?
14 and a half years.
You still like her?
Oh, yeah.
You love her?
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to love, hard to like.
I think...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Love is different. Like,
I think both is necessary, though, yeah.
Both is necessary, absolutely. A lot of people do keep it going long after they don't really like the person, you know. And people are also, you know, get together when they don't like the person. I did it a billion times when I was young, and it was just like, oh, you're pretty and you would with me? Okay, I like you.
Yeah.
We'll work out the details later. But thank God, now that I'm 40,
You look great for 40.
Thank you.
Happy
How
birthday.
old are you?
I'm 45. I'm 5 years older than you.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Everybody's younger than me. There is a point where you get to where, like, if you're in a room with, like, somebody older, you're like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Great. Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
But, so you're married for 14 years?
14 years. Yeah. 14
kids?
We got 4 kids. We got...
4 kids.
I'd have 20 if I could. We got 11.
Why do you want 20 kids?
10, 7, 2.
Why do you want so many kids?
What's the purpose of living if you don't have kids?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Again, the way you frame it is just off-putting because it's like assuming all of us, and we're so varied as a human race, that all of us think the same way. So for many millions and millions of people, the purpose of living is to avoid having children, is to enjoy your life. Now, it's perfectly fine if your choice is to trade your life for someone else's, which is really what, if you're going to be a good parent, you kind of have to do. It's also perfectly okay to say, no, what's wrong is to have a child and then ignore them.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
No one disagrees with that.
No, I don't disagree with that.
No, of course not. But what I'm saying is the harder choices, or I don't think it's a hard choice at all. It should be thrust upon people. It should not be thrust upon people to have children if they really are not suited for that, as it used to be. A woman thought she was a complete failure if she didn't, like, you know, fucking vomit out some spawn to, like, God knows what in the world. And some were and some I'm sure were good people. But generally, like, I'm not that in love with the human race, where I think like, whoa, what we need is more of them. You know.
Do you like kids? Do you actually like kids? Or
What do you ask me this question for? Of course I
you ask
don't
me
like
questions
kids.
about kids.
Oh,
I'm asking
Jesus,
you.
But I just told you.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I fucking hate kids. And I understand people like you can enjoy yours. I'm glad you like yours. And I understand we have to, I don't really have to, but okay, if we want to keep the human race going, we have to keep having children. It doesn't matter whether we should or we shouldn't. People are going to do it. If there's one thing we know about this world is that people will fuck. They'll fuck anything. They'll fuck anybody. I was just watching that show, that Jodie Foster new detective show in Alaska. Like, when you're in Alaska, it's kind of a leitmotif. It's like, yeah, we're fucking a lot. We're in Alaska. We don't really care what the person looks like. It's cold. And yeah, there's not a lot to do here, and we're going to fuck.
What do you think about Alaska? Have you been to Alaska?
I was to Alaska in 2013, enjoyed it immensely. It was
Had a
in the
blast
summer.
over there, yeah.
Oh my God. First of all, so pure, like pristine. Like when you drove, there wasn't any, it was Eden-esque. It was. There was, because like the snow caps were melting, so you would see this crystal clear water coming down from the mountain. Then we took a helicopter over the, glaciers, many of which were dirty. I saw one fall down. It was both impressive and depressing. But yes, I did 2 shows. I did one in Anchorage, which is the big city. Is that the capital? Yeah. Right. First it was Fairbanks, which is the second biggest city. It was awesome. It was like a Wild West show. It was like outside under a tent. I had to like walk through mud to get to the stage.
Freezing, or
it
you
was
went like
raining.
summertime?
It was summertime. July. It was people were under the tent, but there was other people on the hill, and it was raining, and they didn't give a shit. They stayed for the show. 2013. And then we went to Anchorage. And Anchorage, it was like the land that time forgot. It was like they did something to it in the 70s, and I'm sure it was really looked great in 1975, and I think it still looks great. But you could shoot a movie about 1975 there and not have to change a thing. Note to self, call Quentin Tarantino. Because, yeah, and I don't mean that disparaging way.
No,
I
get it.
love
I get it.
I love that you could see a moose walking down the street.
Nobody cares. It's not a big deal. It's as if it's a regular Tuesday.
Like it was a dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're allowed to, like, there's like no gun laws. Like everyone has a gun, like in their glove compartment. It's like your phone. But, it's a rough place. I don't know. But I thought a minute about like actually buying something there, because I got and am still very concerned about global warming. Or is that a hoax in your world? I don't know.
I lose sleep over it every night.
You what?
I lose sleep over it every night. The warming of the globe.
I don't know whether you're being facetious.
Oh my God, I shiver every night when I go to sleep. Global warming?
I assume you're being sarcastic?
I would be very serious. Why would I be sarcastic? I mean, global warming is the #1 issue in the world.
Okay, good.
Do you agree with that?
I do.
Tell me why.
See, I think you don't. Yeah, why? Because
what do you worry about?
A few years ago, someone did
Al Gore?
Al Gore, yes. You're right. You're right, David. You know what? It's a big hoax because Al Gore has a big house, and sometimes he leaves lights on in it. Oh my God. No, they did. Someone did a compendium of all the climate studies. There was over 10. I think it was 10,880 of them, some number like that, and there was only 2 dissenting about the idea that climate change was real and it was happening and it was caused by humans. So that's a consensus. That's what you call a consensus. I mean, you and I think, are closer on the same page with vaccines and so forth. And that's because the human body is a lot more complicated and a lot more mysterious than climate science. That's why there's nowhere near that kind of consensus about how we treat any malady in the human body. That is the bottom of the ocean. Not so with the climate. It's not that complicated, climate. I mean, I couldn't do it, but climate science, it's geology and it's chemistry and it's some physics. It's not a mystery like why do people get Parkinson's disease? It just isn't. So,
Climate change. No, we were
oh,
talking
climate
about
change,
climate
yes. But when over 10,000 scientists all study the same subject and come up to the same, and 2 don't, you can say there's a dissenting field, but they could fit on a motorcycle. So yes, I think it's very, and again, we see the results already. I mean, now, is it possible that we can raise the level of the ocean and not be met with disaster because of that? I guess it is. I guess there are things that could also change, but that's going to happen. It's kind of like when the Titanic hit the iceberg and she talks to Victor Garber and he says, well, lady, I hate to tell you, but there's 9 compartments on this ship, and if only 4 of them had flooded, we'd be good, but 5 did, and that means we're going down. We're just going to go down. So it's unlikely that you have some sort of lover you care about on the ship, but if you do, now would be a good time to run.
Get it done with, yeah. Go do it now. This will be your last chance.
But no, we have hit the iceberg, I think. So, you know, those icebergs and stuff are melting. They will raise and it's a kind of a cycle, because the worse you make it, the worse you make it. So oceans and then less ice to absorb all that, and it's just throwing something off balance. Not to mention the incredible decimation of species that we're doing. I don't know how many species you can kill. I mean, if it's just going to be chickens, dogs, and cats, it's going to be bleak, and I don't know if you can even survive. I think the ecosystem needs its component parts, although obviously it can sustain a lot of extinction, because almost everything that ever was on Earth has been extinct. I mean, if everything that was ever alive was still alive, it'd be very crowded at the zoo. Anyway, I'm concerned about the environment, and
how do you think we fix this? So, like, you know, we have, I think it's fair to say, like, there's a lot of weird things going on to weathers around the world, right? Like, weather around the world. Hurricanes, San Diego, you're seeing videos. And you say, oh, Germany. I said, what is all this stuff? I mean, this is too crazy right now to be looking at it. The other day I'm in Fort Lauderdale. A tornado hit Fort Lauderdale. Okay. These are kind of weird things that's going on simultaneously. What's the solution? How do we fix it? What is the approach to take it? I think that becomes the question, right? You identify the problem, then you sit there and say, what is the solution?
Yeah, I agree. Of course. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about. And no, I don't think it's always about throwing money at the problem. I also don't think, this was something we did about a year ago, I also don't think that the method that we have basically been using or trying to use for the longest time, which is make people be good or want to be good, plainly is not working. I think the amount of coal we burned 30 years ago was like 38% of the grid, and now it's like the last year it was 37. Like we shaved 1 point off of it. So I don't know what the answer is. And I'm not encouraging people to be pigs, but apparently they're going to be. It's just in our nature to be fucking pigs and to pig out on convenience and luxury and excess. Maybe it's because it gets you laid. I don't know what the fuck, but people, or makes you, I don't know, shopping, and people just like shit. They like buying shit and making shit, and they just do. They want to live their fucking life, and sometimes the result is not great for the environment. Anyway, I mean, I fly in a private jet. You probably do too. Is it? I said before, I can be called a bad environmentalist. I cannot be called a hypocrite. So I'm not going to say I'm the greatest environmentalist, and I'm also not going to. I couldn't do these gigs I do, and I wouldn't even if I was taking it somewhere for pleasure. Fuck that. You know what? Yes, there's a certain part of me that's going to live life while I'm here look, if I thought it was really making a difference to the 8 trillion flights or whatever it is every day that are crisscrossing the globe, make it illegal if it's really, and they're not going to do that. So the bottom line point is that we're going to have to think of something, because making humans not act selfishly it's like, that's what communism tried to do. It tried to make people not act selfishly, and that was never going to work. Humans are selfish.
I think to me, that's the part what I like about long-form podcasts or debates, is because the more we talk, if you can reason, you're going to come to a conclusion. And what conclusion do we come here from? Climate change. Neither one of us are experts in this topic. You're not a scientist, I'm not a scientist. We haven't spent 20, 30 years of our lives thinking about this.
The science isn't the question. People know what the science is. When you're debating the science, it means you just have a weak hand and you want to do what you want to do, and that's fine. But the science is in. There's no debating the science anymore. That was my point about the 10,800 peer-reviewed studies that all came to basically the same conclusion. The science is in on it. Yes, the debate is, what do we do about it? Or do we just, Thelma and Louise it and hold hands and drive off the Grand Canyon and say, you know what, as long as we're going, I'm going to go out strong.
Let me ask you a question.
But I don't want to be the one to tell India and China, who have been watching the rest of the world pollute forever, now, I'm so sorry, it's a very bad situation. You can't have refrigeration or air conditioning or cars because we used all that up. Sorry, that's not going to happen. Everybody in the world wants to live like Americans.
So if somebody said, I want to, I want to go out there and address the issue of gravity. If I want to go out there and gravity, or something that no matter how much time you put into it or resources you put into it, there's certain laws you can't do anything about. Law of familiarity. Okay, to me, this is my first time here, right? That's sick. Okay, that's a real cool couch. That sign is cool. I went back there and I looked at your engineer room. You have Make America Great Again. You had George Bush toilet paper. You had Barack Obama. You had all this cool stuff.
Right.
But to me, this is sick, right? Why is this sick to me? It's my first time here. But to you, you probably don't look at everything the same way I look at it, right? Because it's called law of familiarity.
Right.
Perfect. So now what do? Do I sit there and judge you and I say, how dare you not be grateful for the amazing things you have around you? How dare you not, be so familiar with your stuff? You ought to be grateful about that couch all the time. Law of familiarity says, I'm not going to change Bill Maher. Bill is going to do what Bill is going to do, right? Okay. So climate change debate, we have a problem. This is what's going on. Fine, 10,800, research, scientists. Great, let's agree on that. That's exactly what's going on. Now what do? So what if scientists come back and say the way for us to save civilization, we have to bring the population back down to 3 billion. Do you agree with that strategy?
Oh, I'd love it. I'd like to take part in it.
You'd like to take part in it,
yes,
right?
There's way too many people.
So you think there's way too many people?
Of course. I mean, yes, not to fit, but for resources. See, this is the silly argument that the population expanders like to give. Like, we've got plenty of room. Yes, of course we do. No contest. We've got plenty of room. If you ever fly over the country, it's mostly empty. Yes, like your head, mostly empty. That's not the issue. We could fit them in. We can't feed them. They all shit. They use water. You can't grow water. There's already a water shortage in this world. There's a water shortage out here before Gavin got in office and made it rain.
He's the GOAT, right?
But
he's the greatest.
He's not the GOAT, but he could be the fucking 47th president.
I don't disagree. I fully agree with you. I think if they...
But you think...
that there's a...
But again, what has Biden done what's the worst? Okay, Afghanistan...
Tell me which story you want to...
No.
Because for me...
See, look at this politician again. I just said... You really, if you're not thinking about running for office, you should.
I'm not at all.
Well, you should.
I wasn't born here.
Because this is your natural skill.
You think so?
Deflecting, it
is.
is.
Newsom's. I think that's Newsom's ability. I think Newsom is phenomenal. I think Newsom
did it
maybe
again.
a fantastic politician.
Okay.
He could fully pull it off.
That's what
Did you see the story that came out today about Michelle?
I said Newsom can win.
As a politician, for sure.
Yes.
But then I asked results, and winner, and then you got upset. You said,
I don't know.
that to me, there's a part of it that's results
You know,
driven.
I haven't studied his bio lately. I'm sure there are some things that we did here in California that benefited a lot of people. You know, it's a local.
Yes, this
I don't
question
watch
from-
the local news.
I can listen to you for hours. I can listen to you for hours, and I've listened to you for thousands of hours. Because I'm on the other side. I'm not a mainstream guy. You're a guy that's been around, and we've listened to you over the years. And I think, like I said earlier, during COVID, you really played a big role. You had conversations others simply didn't have the brass to have.
Well, that's true. Again, I'm not going to start a big fight about that
others
one.
didn't have the brass to have. But
Right.
the results side, when I'm asking, I'm simply asking, California, for example. If you look at California, I lived here for 24 years. I went to Glendale High School.
Glendale?
I lived in class of 96. Yes, Glendale High School.
Glendale,
I lived
next
off
to
of Broadway,
Pasadena, Glendale?
Right next to Pasadena. Nitros,
Oh.
class of 96.
I did a stand-up special there once.
At the high school?
No, I did it. No, in some theater there in Glendale in like 1994 or something. It was one
Do you
of.
remember is it Alex? Do you remember what the name of the theater?
No idea. And
Okay.
it was not a good choice of a venue.
Really?
Well, I wasn't as good a comic as I am now, and it was Glendale. No, it was. I don't know. It was not my favorite. One of my specials. Anyway, go on with your story. You grew up in Glendale.
Glendale High School. I lived
Glendale
in,
High
I lived
School.
in Northridge.
Now,
I lived
did
in
they
Woodland
pick on you
Hills.
because you were Iranian?
No, I got along with everybody.
Good.
I was a guy that got
But
along.
did they get along with you? So you didn't.
No, I get along with everybody. I like people. I enjoy listening to people.
Well,
I enjoy
good.
getting to know people. But think about it. So for me, I lived here 24 years, and all of a sudden, Time Magazine comes out with an article called "United States of Texas," okay? And Texas is doing this, and Texas is doing that, and Texas offers this. Governor Perry's coming down here recruiting businesses away. Then I go to Texas. I move my insurance headquarters to Addison, and we stayed there for 5 years, and then we moved to Florida. Okay.
So you've lived in Texas and Florida.
I lived Texas 5 years. I lived Florida 3 years. I lived here 24 years. 2 years Germany, 10 years Iran, and then a couple years in
Right.
Tennessee, Carolina, and Kentucky because of the army. But if you judge success, like on this show here, how do you judge success on this show or Bill Maher? Viewership, right? Eyeballs.
Well, I mean, if someone just thinks it's a show, I feel that's quite a victory because,
You get
that's
eyeballs.
absolutely, that's certainly
Okay.
part of it.
So
yeah.
what do you think? What do you think people would say if your show started getting 200 views instead of the millions of views it gets, and they left you for I don't know, they went to another show to watch and they're not watching you?
Well, if it got down to 200, I hope I would have quit by then. I mean, I could get 200 in death. They could just run shit,
But if it did, what would they?
I could beat a lot of people in death.
Would you be considered a winner if this show went to 200 views? No, right?
No.
It would be like, okay, this guy's not
Correct.
getting results.
Not
Okay,
a winner.
and I'm going purely data. Okay.
Go
Since
data, man.
1851, the great state of California we all love, right? The first time it lost population from 1851, back to back to back to back, 3 years in a row was under Newsom, people left here.
Right.
Okay, so why did they leave? That's a stat.
They
This
lost
year-
because of this is when he was on Friday. This is what I was confronting him with. I didn't mention that because he gets that every time, so that's boring. But I was telling him about my issues with California, which are people's issues. Why do companies leave? Taxes are too high, too hard to start a building, a company. A building in San Francisco needs 87 permits before it can break ground. And, maybe he was just being slick, but he certainly seemed to be reeling off the answer of, yes, I'm very aware of this. We are working on it. It doesn't make the press,
Yeah.
but we are aware. And he seems to me to be a bright enough, caring enough guy to be able to identify that problem. I think he's a detail guy, as Democrats usually are. Republicans are more a big picture guy. Bush was like, we was attacked, war. Where, sir? I don't know all the details. I just said war. You figure out the country. I don't know, Iraq, Iran, one of them people where they wear the towel on the head. That was about it. Reagan, same thing. If it didn't fit on a page, Trump said that. One page. Democrats treat government generally much more respectfully, like it's an actual job, which it is, a really detailed one. And when they know shit and get into the minutiae, things generally come out better. And I think Gavin Newsom is in that tradition of Democrats who does that.
So if you
Unlike your boy, who bases everything on whether, like, the guy likes him. He said, I was brilliant. I think I'll take the compliment and then do whatever. I mean, that's dangerous.
Yeah. So if
you gotta go?
No, I don't have to go. No, I'm enjoying this. So if I'm glad you said that. The fact that Democrats like details more. Last year, 2023. Okay, since they like details, let's talk about some details.
Oh, Jesus.
You say you Democrats are more about details, right? So I want to give them credit. For
I can tell this. I can tell this is going to be dumb, but okay.
So it's going to be dumb. When it's details, it's dumb.
No, it's not, because it's going to be. All right, Tom. Maybe I'm misjudging. But go ahead. You tell me what your thing is.
Data. The Bill Maher show is the greatest show in the world. It's dumb. So you don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to get upset with that.
I'd like to see this data. Yeah. They did say I was the most trusted.
The top 50. I think you made a lot of impact last 3 years. I'm going to continue saying that because I fully believe that it's not going to change. Whether we
not asking for it to change. Thank you.
But top 50
I
states.
take the compliment.
Top 50
You're brilliant.
States.
I mean, if that's what Trump, that would be what, you know.
You ready for top 50 states?
Top 50 states.
There's top 50 states for net migration. Best state is Florida, then is Texas, then is Tennessee. Worst state, 2023, California.
Absolutely.
Then it's New York, then it's Illinois.
Yeah.
Why are Americans leaving blue states and going to red
And again,
states?
what you ask, why do Republicans and independents watch me now also? Because I'll be honest about answers like this. Because for very good fucking reason. I know people. I know this on a personal level. Someone who worked for me and really was happy here, but just had a baby and couldn't afford to stay here. Moved to Oregon. Some of it is just that. Very, very expensive, this state. Now, part of that is because we try to do too much. Democrats are basically the ones who think government can do things, and very often it shouldn't, it's asked to do too much. So you take a state like California, which is completely run by the Democrats, you're going to have that inclination go out of control. That's what I think about California. That inclination is out of control. Take a lot of their money. I mean, we went from like a $62 billion surplus to an $87 billion deficit just like in a year and a half. I mean, we're playing with big fucking money.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? Because it's just about revenues. It was all about revenues. It didn't have anything to do with Newsom. The tax rate was the same. You seem to just look at like the very last stat on the sheet, like the bottom line one, and there's a lot of truth that's buried in the details.
I've asked you a very basic question, and you haven't answered it.
I didn't.
No, I asked you a question. I said, you said Newsom is a winner. And I said,
politically.
Based on what? And I said, tell me results, because your show's a winner based on data and based on, to you, Democrats like details. Okay, detail-driven, your show's killing it because you're getting eyeballs. Give specific victories Newsom's had. What is the victory?
Is this how you argue? Is this how you argue with your wife?
We have civil conversations. We enjoy each other's company. Okay. And I'm enjoying this. By the way, just so you know this, like this is...
So how'd you meet your wife?
How'd I meet my wife? This guy named Gavin, we went to this restaurant called French Laundry, and he introduced me to this wonderful lady, Jennifer, and that's how we met. No, my wife and I met June of 2002. I was in the bathroom washing my hands. My friend Fernando Lasso comes in and says, there's a girl here who looks like Pocahontas. I said, Pocahontas? He says, yeah, there's a girl here named Pocahontas. I said, okay, cool.
Her name was Pocahontas?
No, he says he looked like Pocahontas. I'm like, why would you call her Pocahontas? She's a white girl from Texas. So I go into the meeting and I see her. She's talking to my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, now I see why you call her Pocahontas. Hair all the way down to her lower back. Sweet girl, come meet her. She's in a relationship. I'm in a relationship. And 5.5 years later, for the first time, she's single. I'm single. We date.
Had you kept up with her?
We were in the same company. She was in another office. She was at Gore Hills. I was in Northridge.
I mean, was she always wearing the Pocahontas outfit around?
No, she only, but she did do that one time, I think Halloween. But no, so
Well, it's
Texan
natural.
anyway, so
You got the hair, you got to do it.
we go out first date, P.F. Chang's. And
P.F. Chang's is where you took her?
High roller, man. When you make money, man, you take people to P.F. Chang's.
So what was this?
Chicken lettuce wrap.
What was this? A test?
No, it wasn't a test.
You're testing her?
I actually like P.F. Chang's. This is back in the days when P.F. Chang's had the noodle soup, the chicken noodle soup that was spicy.
I got to tell you,
rid of
whenever I wanted to know if a girl really liked me, for me, I took her to P.F. Chang's.
Really?
Yeah, if she could hang with that.
Listen,
If she can.
So what
No,
is
I've never been to P.F. Chang's. What is it?
Literally, you've never been to P.F.
No,
Chang's?
I don't.
Are you being sarcastic?
I'm
Now
not.
asking you the
I'm
question.
never being sarcastic. No, I'm
You're never sarcastic.
Well, I mean, let me put it this way: when I am, you'll know it. No, I've never been to P.F. Chang's.
So P.F. Chang's is like a.
What kind of?
I don't even know how to describe P.F. Chang's. Like a, Chinese food, chicken fried rice.
Chinese food.
It's a nice place. Yeah.
I think Chinese food covers it. I know Chinese food. I've had Chinese food.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food, like if I was dying and
No, like
didn't have to worry.
you choose. I ask, say, let's go out to dinner tonight. You pick and choose.
Well,
What's
but,
number
but
one?
again, that's why I say that, because like if I anticipate that I'm going to have more months and years to live, I'm not going to eat just the food that I think is the most tasty and amazing food.
Yeah.
If I thought, well, I got nothing to lose, I'd probably have meatballs and spaghetti every night.
So meatballs and spaghetti.
Well, yes, that's a very satisfying meal. But then again, you're part Italian. I don't have to tell you, right? The Assyrians,
Yeah.
very close in the when you put the list of countries down, especially ancient ones, Abyssinian. They were the ones in Ethiopia. And who attacked them in 1936? The Italian Mussolini. That before World War II, right before World War II, Italy attacked and took over Ethiopia. Talk about picking on the weak kid on the playground. Like,
What did you
hey,
major in, by the way? What was your major?
You mean that's not common knowledge?
What was your major?
History.
History. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just always been my interest. And if you're going to do politics,
Yeah.
For real, you have to know history too, because it's just the most current version. I mean, the newspaper is just the first draft of history.
Did you ever have interest again to politics?
Get into politics?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Because-
friends that are in it. I'm more like, did anybody say, Bill, why don't you get into it? You'd be a good
Oh,
debater.
yeah, I mean, I've done bits about that where people said, Bill Maher should run. It's like, first of all, I have no interest. Second of all, I could never get elected. Nobody would, that would be a stupid campaign to take. I mean, there are all the blocks, like the woke, oh my God, they would vote anybody. Also the arch conservatives, religious people can't do. Yeah, but that's fine. No, I want to be the anti-political. Political means bullshit. That's my side of the street is the exact opposite.
Who do you?
And you have to get up in the morning and get married and Jesus Christ. I mean, it's just horrible to run. But you, my friend,
different story.
This is where the political talent in the room lies.
No, the
Not
guy you
with
had
me.
that was a political talent.
You
was
know
last
you're
week.
going to do it. You
That
could be
guy
the
was-
sane Vivek.
Zero.
How many people in this country do you think could have, you were sitting here with Vivek Ramaswamy, could tell, name the countries you're from, why they're different, the different religions, maybe 3% of the country.
Small percentage.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What's your point?
My point is that Americans really don't know anything about, it's the lady in the diner. They just don't know. We really we drop the ball on all education. There's something that I lay at the feet of the Democrats. I mean, that is their portfolio.
Education.
Well, of course, that is their portfolio. They have to own that. That, again, this is one of those things, I'm not trying to insult the Democrats. I don't want to. They're basically my people, but when you're wrong, and you got to own it. They are the party of education. They say the Democratic Convention is something like 70% teachers of the delegates. Mm-hmm. And the party certainly is beholden to the union. They have to own the fact that we turn out children from high school, normal American high school, and they don't know anything. Not like that we concentrated on this. I guess they still teach them to read, or at least read well enough to send a text or see a text. But past that,
It's an interesting
not
topic.
science, not math, definitely not civics, not history.
Yeah.
Like knowing like any basic things, like what's the population of the world? Is it 7 million?
7.9
70
billion.
million?
Yeah.
7 trillion?
Yeah.
70 billion trillion? It would just be throwing a dart at the wall.
By the way, I'm not asking this question with something to tell you with stats or any of that stuff. So, why do you think more Democrats become teachers than Republicans?
Well, more teachers are women, more Democrats are women. So it's a noble job if you do it right. And my sister's a teacher. I mean, there are millions of great teachers in the world, and in this country there are people who are very sincere and do their best. I've done many editorials in support of the teachers because I think the part of the problem is the parents. Parents make it impossible to do the job of the teacher because the parent don't side with the teacher. They side with the child now, their precious fucking child. So teachers are, I did one recently about how teachers are assaulted. I mean, in my day, that did not even cross our mind to even curse in front of a teacher. And now they get clocked. They'll just beat the dog shit out of a teacher and film it in class. This is outrageous. Outrageous.
How do we get here, Bill? You've been here longer than I have.
Take cold water.
November 28, 1990.
What's this?
I said, how did we get here? I've only been here since 1990.
Right. Well, you got here, what, on a raft?
No, a little boat we had. It was a Russians call it a lotka.
No, you flew here. You just came on a
course,
plane.
Lufthansa.
Yeah, no. Gosh, you could write not just a book, but a library on how we got here. I don't know. I guess if I had to sum it up, I'd say civilizations are always victims of their own success. When you become very successful, very wealthy, don't have to worry really about other people fucking with you, as George Bush used to say. We used to think oceans could protect us. Well, oceans do protect us still, but many other things. Also, oceans plus like a giant nuclear arsenal, and we do have like the biggest military in the world. We are the biggest swinging dick there is. Again, I know Biden ruined the world, but somehow the dollar still, the gold standard for gold is the dollar. Every other country in the world fared worse coming out of the pandemic than we did economically. So, people have no perspective really about how bad it is in other countries. So they can talk shit, and they do, especially on the left, about how shitty America is. But, try it somewhere else.
Why are you a libertarian, by the way?
Well, a libertarian is a label.
You said, I'm just saying it because you said it earlier, you're a libertarian.
Libertarian on issues that are, I think, appropriate for libertarians. I would never say that anymore. I'm a libertarian because there's a libertarian party and they take it too far. They believe in, stuff like, well, they shouldn't have meat inspectors. If I get E. coli from this meat, it'll get around and then no one will buy this type of meat again. Thank you, free market. Really stupid shit. Don't stop me from going down the road unfettered. Who needs traffic lights? I want to soar like an eagle, right through the windshield. They just became fringe, and they're not making things better. And by the way, most of it has been just co-opted by sensible people. Pot was, back in the day, was 30 years ago when I was first on television. Pot was much more a libertarian issue because it wasn't legal anywhere for any reason. Now that's so different. I used to be paranoid about traveling with it. Now I don't worry at all because if they bust me in Oklahoma or somewhere, they will be embarrassed, not me. So that's a big change. So in a lot of ways, libertarians achieved a lot of what we wanted. Other ways, Fourth Amendment stuff, no. The privacy issues are paramount in my mind. I'm sure they are for you too. Especially as a businessman, I'm sure you have stuff that if it was hacked would be not good. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, of course. No question about it.
Yeah. No, I don't have shit like that. If I'm not dirty, what do you got?
No, I'm not worried about
I
it
know.
either. But, so based on that, you would say you're more Democrat than a Libertarian. Mm-hmm. Okay, got it.
Well, I mean, again, these are labels. I don't belong to a party. I assess every candidate individually. Has that resulted in me voting Democrat just about every time? Yeah, because I just generally thought, oh, Bill Clinton, way better than George Bush, way better than Bob Dole. Al Gore, yeah, better than Bush. Yep. John Kerry, yes, better than Bush. Obama, better than McCain, yes, better than Romney. Just down the line. Trump, and it got easy. Trump, Hillary, Trump, anybody. So, but, I always look. I will always shop around. I could have voted for, McCain, if he had the 2000 McCain, I think I could have voted for him.
Why is that?
He ran in 2000. Things were just not as partisan. I mean, there are things he did that I loved that were very nonpartisan. The biggest one, a woman at a town hall, this is 2008, and just like your lady in the diner. And do you remember this? It's a very famous tape, and she says, Barack Obama, he's an Arab, and I don't think he likes his country. And a lot of the politicians would just have gone along with that. And McCain said, no, ma'am, he's a good American. We just disagree. That, you know how Republicans get a hard-on for when the Blue Angels fly overhead? I don't get a hard-on for that. That gives me a hard-on for this country.
It's pretty impressive.
A guy doing that. But, of course, he had to run. By the time he got the nomination in 2008, the Republican Party was so batshit that he had to appoint that crazy lady from Alaska. And that was a bridge too far.
Would you ever have her on?
Palin? Yes. It's short answer. It's a great question to make me think about, because for a while I think it was just a joke. It just became, it's almost like making fun of a handicapped person. I'm just not going to do it. She's been away from the public scene for long enough. She's definitely not overexposed lately. I would like to catch up with what Sarah Palin thinks about things. I think it would be very interesting, and people would be very interested, because you can't become that famous. Once your rocket achieves that level of the stratosphere, you're famous forever, and people are always going to be somewhat interested. And I'm interested because I haven't seen her. Last thing I think I saw her, she was dating somebody. I think it was like that kind of, and it was somebody who you wouldn't think. I think it was a Democrat. I don't know.
Is she your type?
My type?
Is she your type?
An idiot? No. No, she's.
You go on a date with? She like if somebody said,
no. First of all,
that date would be very.
Please.
If Chang's, I would set you up.
No, I wouldn't go on a date with her. But she's an idiot. No, I can enjoy the company of a Republican. Lots of my friends are Republicans, and they can be brilliant. But dating, I say this in my act as a joke, but I think it's kind of true. I don't think I've ever fucked a Republican.
How do you know that, though?
Exactly. But
it's kind of weird if you're like, all right, listen, before we get it on, are you Democrat or Republican?
No, but I just feel like they just, at least back in the day, they just had much more of a sort of conservative in their personal life view of the world. Like, I'm a virgin, or we don't have sex until we're married. That kind of, those 90s Republicans were much more that moral majority kind of conservative.
Did you ever think about getting married and having family, or no?
Yes. But I feel like I was coerced by society. I feel like society makes you feel like that's what you should do. The one time I got engaged, I really didn't even know I got engaged. I just was desperate, and I was losing her. And so I just I pushed it on the table like you put your wristwatch down on a poker game. Just like, what if we get married? Will you stay with me then? Like, I
How
gotta
old
go.
were you?
I'm gonna all in the. I was 29.
Okay, so you're in your 20s.
Yeah, I'm gonna go all in this hand. So I was engaged once, but never happened. And no, I must say I made a lot of stupid decisions and mistakes in my life. Did not mature very fast. But the one smart thing I think I stuck with is that I would not have been happy being a husband and father. I think I always needed to be a lone wolf, which is why I object when you say things like, "What else is life for?" It's like I could show you,
Yeah.
but I'm sure I bet you when you first came to America, I bet you found paradise as far as come on, the women. First of all, you could see their face.
Oh no, listen.
Okay, right
I'm
there,
not
big
sitting
advantage.
here and,
What?
No, of course. I mean, I partied a lot, hardcore.
You
but
did.
Of course.
Let's
yeah.
hear about it. Let's get into that.
Party? Are you
Yes.
kidding me?
Where did you party hardcore?
First
What do you
of all,
consider hardcore?
The greatest.
What's the hardest thing you ever did? What? Tell me. What? What's the hardest thing you ever did?
So the greatest club I ever went to. So you want me to name the clubs I've been to? I'll name the clubs I've been to.
No.
So Panama City used to do this club they had called Club La Vila on Spinnakers. I don't know if you've been to it or not. It was
No.
One of the best parties they would put up. And
Where
we'd
is
go
this
there.
then?
This in Panama City.
Panama
Absolutely
City.
insane.
Well, you were there in the military?
Yeah, we'd go there and have a blast.
I'll bet.
But the best club,
Oh, I'll bet.
best club was a club called Connections. It was in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a gay club.
Oh.
And we'd go there, and for whatever reason, strategically, it was fantastic. Because women would go there, so
gay.
they don't want to be bothered. And,
Right.
So it was always filled with a lot of girls. They would go with their friends.
I knew clubs like that
Yeah.
in L.A.
Yeah.
Gay.
This was accidental.
Yeah.
My sergeant, the guy's like, hey, let me take you to an underground club. I went and I'm like, oh my God, beautiful woman. We had a great time. No, I was going to Vegas when I lived here. Every other week I was in Vegas.
You know who would be good at building an underground club?
Mas.
Come on. There you go,
That's
bro.
respect.
There we go. I'm going to get you
You're
on
getting
the comedy
very
page.
strategic, Bill. No, I did. But for me, listen, eventually it got to a point in my life. By the way, you did it religiously, right? You did that. Religulous. How long
Yeah.
ago did you do that? It was
That was, we shot it.
20?
It came out in 2008.
Okay, so it's been now 16 years since
I
you got
know.
Has
I can't believe
anything about God changed in your life?
God?
Position-wise, for God.
No. God himself is still the same place he was. And I think, at the same place
Your
in real.
engineer loves you,
in
by the
real-
way.
I'm pretty much in the same place in relation
Nothing's
to that.
changed.
Well, what would you be like? You think I got religion in the last 16 years?
No, like, you know when you're by yourself and no one's around. Not with people
Yes.
being around.
I do.
By yourself,
You
no
don't.
one's
You
around.
have a family. I know exactly what that's like. You're the one who
Yeah.
can never sit on a toilet, never can sit on a toilet seat that doesn't feel like ass. Okay.
So
yeah.
you're alone by yourself.
Yeah, I'm
You're,
a lone
you know,
wolf.
whatever place you are by
Yeah.
yourself. Do you ever sit there and say, Bill, what if you're wrong? What if you're this? Do you go there at all or not at all?
Of course not. It's so silly. You mean, what if I'm wrong? So what a great reason to be religious, just in case a devil in hell is going to poke my ass with a pitchfork amid the burning flames if I'm wrong. I mean, what God would want you if that was your reason for doing it? Why can't we just be a good person for the sake of it? And other than that, I think life is just about killing time till you die. Have a good time, be a good person, not in that order, be a good person first, but you can manage both. I don't feel like I owe my life to anybody, but I do feel like I've been fortunate. Like when I look at all the 8 billion people in the world, of all the lives I could have pulled, this was a pretty good one, you know? There were things I would have liked. I should have been 6'2", but God fucked up. So, you know, basically, if I had to go back into the reincarnation bin and pull another life, I'd be scared to do it because, you know, I like this one. Even with all the stuff that's been, you know, no life is not, it doesn't have pain in it and things that you, mostly regrets of things, you know, I wish I did differently. I mean, I wish I had the brain I have now in my 29-year-old body, because I wouldn't have gotten engaged that night, because I knew that certainly was not going to work. But But you're going to have more kids? You said you want more.
I'd have 20 if I could.
But what do you mean if you could? Your wife doesn't want more.
My wife, same age as me. No, she's done. She's
done more than her.
No, she has.
I mean,
totally. But you know, we're.
But why? Because like when you have the kid, it's like.
Man, I love kids.
I can see.
Yeah,
No, that's a very human thing.
Yeah.
And it's also a human thing not to.
No, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, by the way, you remember this is not a. The reason why I like to talk to people, maybe we have different views with this, because it helps identify leaks in any argument that I may have that I haven't thought about. And then you walk away, you're like, okay, interesting. That's his position.
Right.
Great. I don't have to disrespect you. I don't have to.
No.
I can sit there and say, all right.
Oh,
so
no.
he thinks like that because of the life he's had and maybe the experiences.
Right.
And maybe he's choosing this. And by the way, at one point, because like most Democrats, I'm a data-driven guy, and I like data.
You're a Democrat.
No, because Democrats are all about data and stats. Because you said that earlier, they're very analytical. They like the data, and I like data. So I sat there and I said,
I didn't exactly say that, but yes, they do like data more. What I said was they get into the details.
which is data. Details
Yeah,
is
yeah. And certainly
Yeah.
data informs
Yeah.
detail and is part of it, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I sat there and I'm like, okay, all right. So data-wise, like the question I asked you earlier, I said, so why do you think more Democrats are teachers than their Republicans are? You made a very good point, because most teachers are women, right? Okay, great. And numbers came out on.
And it's a caring industry.
Totally. And like nurses, right?
Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It's a
there are
very good
certain
point you're
industries,
making. For sure. It's not for everybody, but
No, there are certain industries that attract different. Yeah, but go ahead.
You're right.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
So then I sit there and I go and say, okay, you pull up data. What percentage of English teachers in high school vote Democrat versus Republican? 98-2. Money donation. Wow. Okay. How about health and science? 97-3.
Yeah, that's not healthy.
That's not healthy.
That's not healthy.
But watch this. Watch when it changes.
I understand.
But I want to kind of
also Twitter, when they went through like when Elon Musk bought Twitter, I think 99% of Twitter employees were Democrat. That's not.
Dude, that's insane.
It is insane. And that is not
that's
healthy.
Most of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I understand. No, I
I
agree with
appreciate you saying that.
That is that.
Would you want to know what number changed? Here's
And
the part that
colleges.
changed.
And colleges.
13-1 professors.
Colleges would be this very similar.
It's 13-1.
It is not healthy when there are places where you would feel completely socially ostracized if you expressed the slightest variant of a point.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
this is one of my biggest complaints with the left is the hypocrisy of being all about diversity. Everything is diversity, except of thought. As long as the black guy, the white guy, the Hispanic guy, the Jewish guy, and the Pacific Islander guy all think alike, we have diversity. Well, you have a superficial diversity. You have a kind of diversity that's also important.
Yeah.
But you don't really have diversity. So yeah, that is a problem in our society, and I'm sure there are things on the other side too. I mean, I don't think rodeos are probably 50-50. I think there's probably 98% Trump voters who are fucking.
They're not impacting
know.
belief and thoughts and philosophy. You're just going for entertainment.
Yes, I was joking.
So it's more entertainment. But you know which one was the only one? What teachers voted more Republican, Democrat? Math.
Who?
Math. Math was 87-13.
Voted Republican?
87 money went to Dems, 13 to Republican. But still, 13 goes from 98%, 97%, so then it goes to math.
Wow.
So then you go think about...
even the math teachers got indoctrinated.
Even the math teachers got indoctrinated.
But it's kind of true. Well, it's just that's like the way Hollywood is. Like the people here, it's like there is a one opinion that is allowed about almost anything.
Yeah.
And it's very strictly enforced. I know I color outside the lines, and like there's a good part of this town that's like that is not allowed, and it's like I don't give a fuck, but I know that's how they feel. Yeah. Hey, listen, I got to go back to my day job. This is really a lot of fun. I'm really glad I got to know you a little bit. I know you're going to do great things because you're a go-getter. Look where you got already. All the way from war-torn Tehran, was it? All the way to hundreds of millions of dollars. Pretty good journey, huh? What a country.
The best.
Okay, we can
The
agree
best.
on that. Thank you. Yes. Look at you, you're big. You're like Reacher. Are you watching Reacher?
Am I watching Reacher? I'm not.
Oh, you have to.
Are you?